On. All right, you guys. So, welcome. So today we have, we're doing I threw this all together randomly. I was like, hey, you guys know distressed property. Let's do something. And then I grabbed Sean and Jerry, and then Crystal is pretty deep in the investing game over here in the East Bay. You can talk about yourself a little more. A lot of her family members has been investing for years. So just go for it, Crystal.
Hello, everyone. So I essentially grew up in real estate, more on the investing side than anything. We have a lot of contractors in my family, so we're very active with the rehab process as well. My family also has a foreclosure acquisition company, so I learned a lot about foreclosures early on. The entire foreclosure process from the beginning where, people have short sales to going to the auction and buying at the foreclosure auction to after that, flipping properties or buying directly from the bank. So REOs. Yeah.
How about you, Jerry? So give us a little background for our guests if they don't know who you are today.
I'm an agent for Compass. I started on the investment side 2013-14, door knocking 2 years part-time. I'll be licensed 5 years in October. And Crystal finds them on the steps. They get them on the steps, foreclosures. What I do is I door knock and I try to work a deal with the seller before it actually forecloses. So that's pretty much how I've grown my business, is simply through door knocking, cold calls, and direct mail.
Sean?
Hey, yeah, Sean here. I got started at 20 years old. I'm 24 now. So, I got started in, I got started in real estate when I was 20, and I primarily focus on, direct to seller marketing, which is main source is basically telemarketing. So we do a lot of pretty heavy in cold calling, and a little bit of like the direct mail and all that stuff. So Jerry and Crystal looks like they kind of focus on like the distressed. I kind of try to prior to that, right? So like I've only done one pre-foreclosure, so it's a little bit, it's a little bit off for me, where the type of deals that I get are a lot like less distressed. I guess you would say it's more so like convenient and easy sellers to work with is kind of like my primary target. But we do get pre-foreclosure. We've done one pre-foreclosure deal, but it's very rare. But we kind of focus on telemarketing and other acquisitions.
I see somebody asked, do we only pursue pre-foreclosures? No. Like I said, all parts of the foreclosure process, before, during, and after. But those aren't the only distressed homes out there. There's also probates. When somebody passes away and there's no will, then it typically has to go to probate. When there's no trust, sorry, not will.
How did you get? I know I did deal with you on that probate, the 5 unit in Uptown Oakland. Like, how does some agents kind of get started with working with more probate sales?
I got most of my probates from probate attorney, so that's how I find out about most of the probate sales, is directly through probate attorneys. Have you guys dealt with probates?
My first deal was a probate. It was actually a short sale probate, and I found that one door knocking. And with probate, you have to make sure there's room there to pay the lawyer. Keep that in mind, because usually with a typical short sale, unless you're coming off your commissions, you're not gonna be able to pay that lawyer. They probably wouldn't take on and start that probate case.
What do attorneys usually charge to service a probate? There are different tiers. Is it add-on service, like hourly?
So 3% of the first 100,000, 2% of the second 100,000, and 1%. So on.
So yeah, it's tiered.
Yeah, I mean, I have one probate deal going on right now, but we're literally just cleaning title right now. So we're trying to put the name under put the property under the person's name. So I'll probably have to reach out to Crystal or you, Jerry, kind of see how how you guys can help me out in that process for sure. So first time dealing with probate, so I don't have much any knowledge in probate. So.
So somebody else, I haven't just asked a question. What's the difference with foreclosures versus probate sales? So foreclosures, we have a notice to default contract as realtors. So we do have some different forms. If it's a short sale, we also have a short sale addendum. If it's REO, that stands for real estate owned, that's bank owned. There's a different contract for that. Probate, same thing. We have a probate contract. Probate can get a little trickier because sometimes it has to go to court confirmation before the sale can take place. So yeah, there's usually a lot more paperwork with probate sales. And you really have to stay in constant contact with the attorney that's handling the probate.
So this one is different. We didn't do a presentation model because you guys have a lot of knowledge. So I mean, we love more questions from the audience, and you know, and then they can speak on that.
Sean, you just got a question.
What question is that? Oh, there it is. I see it. Sean, where are you spending quarterly in marketing, and what list, and how are you marketing? That's a great question. So we buy a lot of data every single, once a quarter, or even, every single month whenever we need it. We spend probably, I would say, about $5 or $6 grand in cold calling every single month. We have an overseas team in the Philippines. So we have that going on, and we send a lot of direct mails. Like last month when the COVID happened, we dropped about 25,000 mailers. So we do direct mail. We did RVMs and SMS last year, but it didn't really pop off. So we're kind of just focusing on our networking, direct mail, and our telemarketing, which telemarketing is probably most of our biggest source of marketing in terms of, of getting direct to seller leads. So we're pretty heavy in cold calling for sure.
Someone asked, where do we get most pre-foreclosure leads? I've always used Property Radar for my pre-foreclosure leads. I think Sean uses he uses Property Radar as well. And
I use Property Radar not for pre-foreclosure. I kind of just use it for everything, right? I have like 3 accounts with Property Radar costing me like $300 a month. But
what's Property Radar?
So Property Radar, it's just like they get all their data from CoreLogic or CoreLogic. Yeah, it shows the homeowner's equity on the property if they're behind taxes. It's just basically it has all the data within one platform. It has some phone numbers as well. So if you guys want a cold call, you guys could find phone numbers there. They have there's a lot of filters. You can literally filter it to, hey, I want to market to people who are 50 and up, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of filtration that you can go through Property Radar, so that way you can kind of market and find your niche that works for you.
I'm gonna ask, what do we say when we door knock? What exactly do we say to owners in regards to helping them sell their house? Taking a lot of scripts to get here, but typically what I do is I knock on the door and I introduce myself. My name is Jerry. I'm with Compass Real Estate. I'm actually an agent in the neighborhood. Introduce myself to neighbors, but I do specialize with certain situations. So I'm here to see if there is a notice of default on your property. I kind of just ask questions so that I don't get cussed out, because it can get aggressive knocking on pre-foreclosures.
And when I follow Jerry on Instagram, Jerry, you need to add your handle. He's usually posting on IG stories while he's door knocking, just talk about experience. So you guys want to, boots on the ground, see what he does day to day. That'd be good to check out.
Yeah, it's exciting. There we go.
Let's see, there's a question. How many callers do you have? I have about, I think I have like 2. We have 2, actually we have 3 lead managers, and then we have about maybe 8 to 12 cold callers. So lead managers, they're actually in our CRM following up the leads that we have in our pipeline. And then we have about 8 outbound specialists, 8 to 12 around there.
How large is your, what does the investment group? This is not just you, right, Sean? You're part of a group.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just collaborate and work and find deals together. But what do you mean? Can you kind of expand on the investment group?
So like all those callers, all the mailers, are you absorbing all of that cost, or is it shared with other parties?
Yeah, I mean, the mailers, I do some affiliate marketing with some, because we kind of have a robust system that we kind of put together. So whoever wants to come in with marketing, we do some affiliate marketing. Hey, you want to drop mailers, and we'll kind of advise them, hey, this area is going to be a good area to kind of attract leads. So we kind of just advise in terms of, when people want to pull in marketing together. But most of it, all the cold calling, I kind of absorb all that costs.
There's a question about on the acquisition sides, are you offering less or just about the same because of the COVID issue? I say we're offering less because a lot of people aren't really sure where the market's going to go in the next few months. And the last several years we've been working in an up market, a huge seller's market. Obviously that's probably going to change here soon. So we're getting a little more conservative with our numbers. So yes, I would say we're offering less. What do you guys think?
Definitely offering less.
We have to offer less. We either offer less or we do some creative financing. If the seller's willing to do, willing to carry a second on the property, then we'll work with that. So pretty flexible. It all depends on the seller's situation. But, we definitely have to offer a lot less because our buyers are a lot more, investors are a lot more cautious in buying houses right now. And I think the best end buyers right now are conventional buyers. So, yeah.
I have a question. With the market, like companies like where you work at Compass, they offer the concierge program, co banker or Sotheby, they have revitalized. Even locally, I think Grub Company in certain places are offering to front the cost for the repairs. So with that, like why, like for me, like trying to understand, like why would anyone sell at a discount when they can work with you, a Compass agent, or whatever company to do the repairs to get full max market value? What are some of the situations you commonly still see today that would want someone to sell sooner than later?
I know for me, we can't have too many liens on the property to use concierge. So sometimes my sellers don't qualify for the program.
Or if you have an NOD, Compass will not allow concierge.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Also, concierge is just cut down a lot in the last couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, they were saying they're capped at $30,000 per property, and now they're at $15,000 just this past week. So, that's cut way down from Jerry and I getting clients $50,000 to $100,000 on houses, helping them get those distressed properties or distressed looking properties.
And you use did you tell me you used like $300,000-400,000 last year for concierge, Crystal?
I used like $500,000, over $500,000. I was the number one user in Oakland, Berkeley, Compass office. Yeah, this past year.
So something along those lines. Quick plug for myself. I'm a HomeLight top elite agent, so top 1% elite. I have special access to a program called Cash Close. It's being used in situations where a seller wants to sell their house first. At 90% of the cost to HomeLight, they'll buy it right out. But when you resell, the HomeLight lets you keep 100% of the proceeds, but they do charge 0.5% a month interest up to a capped 4 months, 2%, and you can go up to a year. So it's kind of like a bridge loan, but HomeLight wants you to be able to sell to them like a cash close, but they want to earn the money back on the loan itself. So there could be situations. I've talked to 7 sellers right now at that pitch program, 2 are maybes, but just haven't been able to find someone to use this type of product. It's just like for our prices being so high, it's hard to sell at discount. So I know this is why it's kind of cool to have you guys on the panel. I think finding investment properties is just harder than ever. We want to hear about how the creative ways you guys are still doing it.
Yeah.
Ryan asked, craziest door knocking story. Ryan Train, my guy. You want to hear? Okay. So I've I found myself eating cookies with people. I found myself running from people sleeping outside. Didn't know they're there. They're covered with a blanket. But the craziest one by far was in Richmond. This is the last time I knocked in Richmond. I was going to knock the door. They were active outside. Obviously, they were selling, and I walk away, and the guy pretty much like looks me in my eyes and said, "Look, if you sell this house, I will shoot you." And then I got in my car. I never went back to knock in Richmond again. So that was probably my craziest one, just because he did say that, and I believed him.
Yeah. What's the craziest? For me, the craziest house I've ever been was probably in Richmond as well. You know, you can't even walk in the house. There's like pads in that house, in the entry of the house walking in. Like I'm talking about used pads. You know, and it smelled really bad too. So that one's in Richmond as well. Vacant property. I don't know how many people were living in there, or apparently there was like you know, a lot of drug addicts were living in there. So that's actually the probate deal I'm working on as well. So I'm cleaning title, and I still have to clean the house too once I buy it, right? So that's one of the craziest stories. One of the nastiest I've been at for sure.
Definitely happens. I mean, somebody just took a shit in my recent one.
What is your ARV rule, Sean? I don't have we don't really have an ARV rule. It's just like, you know, we try to get the sellers to name their price first. And then if that works, then we'll work it out. If not, then ideally, right, in today's market, we try to, you know, usually before we could do 75, 80 minus repairs, but now we're doing like 65 to 70 minus repairs. If you kind of want to put a number into it.
Katie, my number one source for finding distressed properties is probably my family's company. But at the same time, I do come across a lot of probates and REOs on the market. The house that I'm in right now, REO that I bought last year on the market. So, I mean, there's deals on the market. You just have to get creative and see the potential.
And then I think for agents in this distress space, I think mentally you have to approach it differently than a regular buyer, a regular seller. These people literally are they're in a situation. They haven't been paying their mortgage. It's kind of an important bill to pay as your mortgage. So if you do want to get into the distress space, be there mentally and just expect you know, expect any and everything and just be willing to roll with the punches.
Let's talk about money. Like, where do you borrow it? What's the cost? What's it look like? When do you have to pay it back? Anything?
I use hard money. Usually you have about a year to either refinance or pay it off. Hi, Kathy. Usually paying anywhere from 8% to 11%. And then there's points you have to pay as well, and that's anywhere from 1 to 4 points typically. That's what I'm usually dealing with.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Hard money, private money, a little bit of both. We, you know, 10% down is kind of like ideal. So that way, you know, less cash in means you can buy more properties. But some lenders out there have pulled out on hard money. So, you know, like Lending Home, for an example, they used to do 98 and 0% or 0 points, but now they're doing 80% LTV and they're asking for like $5,000 processing fee. So, you know, I don't really use them anymore, but, you know, ever since the whole COVID-19 happened, they've been a lot lenient with lending. So, like in this case, what I guess a creative deal that we just did was since Lending Home wasn't going to fund our deal, we were supposed to close on a Wednesday. They're not going to fund our deal. So we asked the seller, hey, would you be willing to carry 13%? And we had another lender that was going to fund us at 82. So we ended up putting down only 5% to buy the property. So 5% down on $1 million property in South San Francisco. So that's how we structured our money on that particular property. So we'll ask the seller to carry. It was during the COVID situation. It's just like, we weren't ready to buy that house at that $1 million, but now they ended up carrying it for us. So we still made it work. So that was the first time we've done that. So that's kind of like how we financed one of our deals recently.
I think for like a lot of new people, well, Lending Home is cool. I know a couple people who work there. They're one of America's largest lenders. They're more like corporate, but private money. Like from my conversation with a lot of private money lenders, the more flips you've done, the bigger portfolio resume you have, more lenders will be open to working with you. So if you're a first-time flipper or first time, you're probably gonna have higher fees and need to put down more. So not many people will offer you guys 10% down like they would offer Sean. He's done it before because it's their money at risk.
Yeah. Let's see.
Noah actually, you can take a hit. You guys want to still talk money, or?
Well, yeah. Why not talk about other ways of getting creative with financing?
Financing?
I mean, seller financing. If you convince the seller, like Sean did, to carry part of the loan. I mean, I've seen people buy properties with HELOCs also. Get a home equity line of credit, pull out some equity, use that as a down payment, or use that just to buy a property, all cash. And you can take over a seller's loan.
Did you take over someone's loan before and they still live there or something?
Yeah, so I've done that. That one's tricky. I don't encourage the average person to do that. It's probably best to have a good relationship with the seller. But essentially, I mean, let's say you find a house for $500,000 and the seller owes $400,000, and they tell you, "Hey, I just want 20 grand," and you can have the house. You could essentially take over that first loan, especially if they already had a good interest rate and it already, paid it down a good amount. You could just continue making payments and give the seller, that cash out of pocket. Where's the foreclosure market going to be in like 90 days?
So with I guess the forbearances, I know kind of ties into Noah's question as well. We have the option to do a forbearance on the property we own. I think 90 days after it's going to hit single families harder than multis, just because the tenants don't want to pay their rent now. So they're going to have some kind of repayment plan after it's over. And then we'll see the trickle effect, because there'll be kind of SOL if there's no repayment plan and they don't do the forbearance. That's for single family investors. So I think that's when we'll see it.
Do you guys think the government would give any more leniency on that? Because right now, for those who don't understand forbearance, it's a delay payment. So if your mortgage is $3,000 this month and you're forbeared for 3 months, in 3 months they want all $9,000 at a time. But I know a lot of disclosures are small print on a lot of these websites say, then you can renegotiate with them. We just don't know what that looks like right now. The bank can be very cruel and just do a regular foreclosure, but I haven't thought long enough what the upside and why they would do that.
Yeah, no, well, the Wells told me with mine that, say, if I don't pay if I do the forbearance, then I can either put the rest on the back of my loan, or I could add it to my principal, or I could do an additional forbearance for 6 months instead of 3. But still, if you do 6 months and you still can't pay it back, you're either going to run into a distress situation. You're going to have to do loan modification or short sale if you've been over leveraging. So.
With that said, I feel like everyone that's going to have to pay a lump sum in like 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, they're not going to have it.
That's like,
and there's going to be a huge increase in foreclosures. Right now, they're not really even doing foreclosures.
Nope.
They're just pretty much postponed for the most part. Not all of them, but I'd say like 90% of them are not going to sell right now. They're just waiting. So there's going to be an influx of foreclosures in a few months.
I just had a conversation with the agent in San Francisco 2 days ago that does a lot of business. I don't know her background, but she does mostly condo sales right now, higher end ones. But she said the bank has been asking her for more BPOs, which is haven't heard that in a while. So I think maybe some of the banks are ramping up for that. I mean, I look at when the REO count, but I don't know how much REO there will be.
Yeah, well, I just closed an REO today. Like they're out there, and there's going to be more. But at the same time, there's a stat out there saying, the average homeowner has over 50% equity. So, I mean, even if prices drop or people can't make their mortgage payment, hopefully they can refinance or sell before they actually get into a, default situation.
does, I mean, I don't think either three of us have REO accounts. So maybe towards the end of this, if there is someone that has experience with REO accounts, I can turn you into a panelist and add like a bonus thing. Because Rachel asked about REO accounts. 75% of our existing accounts are just out of business now. Christian asked, when you take over a loan and transfer, how do you avoid triggering due on sale clause?
That's a good question. I've never triggered that. We usually don't really alarm the lender until you're ready to like refinance and pay off that loan, if that makes any sense.
I haven't done a sub 2, so I don't know anything about due on sale clause.
Any more questions? Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, usually, Christian, if it's a long-term hold, if we're gonna keep it for 6 months or more, we usually refinance it by that time frame. Transferring the title, no, it doesn't trigger it.
You'd be surprised that they don't communicate with each other. Take on. I'm always looking for new partners.
So somebody said they just started working with an investor for the first time and they feel a bit overwhelmed. You should run. You should run fast.
Yeah. They're gonna be doing everything and nothing at the same time.
I mean, yeah. Some investors are like, they're gonna be very time consuming.
And make sure they're real investors too.
Yeah, that's the other thing, because you could waste your time with a lot of investors that have never bought or sold.
I can speak to that. We have like a database of 10,000 Zillow leads. You know, we have tons of investors calling us all the time, trying to flip homes and ask, you know, they have like 10 grand and they want to do a crazy project. They have no clue, no contractor connects, haven't done it before. Or you have people that want to buy land and you know, build a new project, but they have like 10 grand or 20 grand. It's just a lot of people are dreamers, especially online leads. So if you're spending time with investors, I really recommend you vet them out. And our team over the last couple of years, working with a lot of them, a lot of times just for fun, and we're very transparent, we give the investors to new agents just to work with, so they can learn, at least have someone to talk to and learn it. But I can't remember the last time that actually turned into more than like a couple of deals for the whole year. It's very, very time consuming.
Someone asks, how do we qualify potential investors? Honestly, you know from talking to them. You know how they move. You know how many questions they ask.
You should ask them what they've sold. I mean, what projects they've done in the past. And ask them when they have an LLC. Are you just doing your name? And then a lot of times you can actually go backwards on the MLS, title records, and see what certain projects tied to that account.
Yeah, definitely ask them for their track record. Ask them who's on their team, because any legit investor should have a team. They should have an architect. They should have a contractor or project manager. They should definitely have their lender in place.
Also, I just asked for a hefty EMD, right? And the heaviest EMD I've asked for was 50 grand. So just get the EMD early. If you want to vet them, right? If they're serious about your deal, then I would just ask them for a really heavy earnest money deposit. Austin asked, "Are you assigning contracts?" Yes, we do. I do some assignments, but I do also different exit strategies. Now that's a good question by Dewey. Anybody see burrs in our market? I would say there is. I wholesaled some deals where it was a burr, but looking back to it, I didn't even know what a burr was. So I lost out on that opportunity, but I'm sure there's definitely burrs, especially now with the current market state. I think there's going to be a lot more burrs coming in that we could take advantage of, for sure.
So this is random. Someone just texted me like an hour ago. I just saw it. Someone in San Francisco, an agent, has an off-market listing entitled lot for 3 new single-family homes in Prescott and West Oakland. So he's gonna email me details. If you guys want to, just email me and I'll forward it to you.
Sean, how do you determine your pay structure between your lead managers? My lead managers are in the Philippines, so they get hourly, and I'll give them like $50 to $100 bonus depending on the deal that they close. You know, if it's a big deal, then I'll give them $100, which they're very grateful about. $50, they're still grateful about it. So, you know, so hourly. And I think I saw someone ask, how much do I pay my callers? It'll vary, right? So low end callers would probably cost about $4. Good end callers would cost about $6 in the Philippines, ideally. Yeah, between $4 to $6 per caller.
Sharon's asking about REOs dealing with asset managers or direct with banks. I've only done a few REOs where I've been on the listing side the last year, and I was dealing directly with the asset manager. So if you still have some asset managers out there, you should probably get in contact with them. See if they're still in the business. You never know.
Let me see. Do you coach all your cold callers, or do you find them already prepped and ready to go? We onboard them, we coach them, and we train them. So we do every single thing. So we have a pretty tough onboarding process when it comes to our cold callers. How do you find your cold callers? My cousin's a cold caller in the Philippines, so that's how we find our cold callers. They have a lot of call centers there, so we kind of we pick out the best ones that want to work home base. So our cold callers they work home base, so that's how we find the best ones.
See Brian Trent in this room. Hey Brian, don't you have a VA company that also is a call center?
The VA hub.
Yep. Brian has a bunch of call center people. The one that used to work for Christo and you, Jerry. That he's still working for me right now, full time over almost.
Yeah, JP still works for me too.
Oh, nice. Hey, how many hours he's putting in? Or clock?
Only a few a day.
So I have not specifically investors, but I have two cold callers. They work on average about 5 hours a week. They're constantly scrubbing our old leads. We have a lead pond with like 6,000 leads. And we're usually booking at least 1 or 2 phone appointments a day, which gets off to our agents. So if you have a old database, that could be worth hiring a VA through Brian. I think that's actually where I got my first and still ISA from.
Just touching on probate attorneys. You just have to build relationships. The attorney that gave me my first couple probate listings was someone that I knew for several years, and just continued just nurturing that relationship. And eventually, I finally got some listings from him.
I have a tip on that. So I don't focus on probates, but if you go to avo.com, that's avvo.com, it's kind of like a Zillow page for attorneys. I think in like Oakland, roughly San Francisco area, there's about 180 attorneys. All their information is on that page. I know that Mark Oldest on my team did a mailing campaign, just a piece of paper with something on it. Hey, we like to partner up. He did get 2 calls back. I would recommend actually calling and I don't know, maybe even showing up their office, just be a little aggressive on that. But all the attorneys in our area, a lot of them are on avo.com.
Virtual meetings right now, because none of the attorneys are in their offices.
Facebook, Instagram, or social media, a good way to find deals. I skip trace with social media.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Jerry.
What's skip tracing, Sean, Jerry?
It's pretty much like stalking. I'll let Sean answer the, but yeah, pretty much like stalking. If I knock a door, and say they have a different mailing address, then I'll go there, then I'll look them up on Facebook, just trying to get in contact with them. Sean probably does it a lot more than I do though.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of skip tracing. Actually, we do like 10, 20,000 records a month. So we do a lot of bulk skip tracing. Either, we get it. There's free sources out there. If you guys are just like driving for dollars and then you guys see a shitty house and it needs some work, I would just go to truepeoplesearch.com. truepeoplesearch.com. You can type in the homeowner's name, address, or even just reverse address. So True People Search, let me type that up. True People Search. That's for a single skip. If you guys are gonna do like bulk skipping, there's a lot of them out there. You guys could do it through like, you know, if you guys have Property List Manager, if you guys are doing any list stacking, they skip trace through there. TLO is another service. IDI is another service. LexisNexis is another service. So there's a lot of platforms out there. For, yeah, Lead Sherpa is another good one, but it's only mobile. That's the only thing with Lead Sherpa. Most of the homeowners that are over 60 years old, they have landlines. So I like to have landlines when I call these homeowners. So.
Intellius, I agree with Intellius. It's a good one.
Yeah, I've been using Intellis for years. It's pretty accurate. It's like $12 a month. We like it for screening all of our like regular leads too. It's not specific distress leads because if someone calls me and leaves me a voicemail, telling me to call them back, I like looking at it, and there's a chance that could be a seller. And then through Intellis, I'll know the name, then I'll background search it. So by the time I call them on the phone, I'll know what they own, and I act surprised and oh, I know that area, but I because I researched it.
Yeah.
What markets are you guys currently looking in?
Distress.
Sure.
Oakland, ideally Vallejo, Antioch, Pittsburgh, more cosmetic fixer out those ways.
I market all 4 counties: San Mateo, Santa Clara, Contra Costa, Alameda, and San Francisco. So, because when you're targeting a distressed homeowner, you only have so much, so you kind of have to go wide at times. So I would hit all counties, surrounding Bay Area counties at least. Yeah.
Is there any areas you guys would avoid other than Richmond?
I just haven't had great experiences in Richmond. So not really. I wouldn't avoid anywhere. I would avoid 71st through 75th in Oakland.
Oh, it's not that bad there.
National.
I don't go to Vallejo, Pittsburgh, Antioch. I let Jerry work on that.
Yeah.
But besides that, I'm all over it.
I was surprised guess. I know that Austin Glass, he's a guy, he mostly works with investors in LA and in Orange County. He's in the room. I'm gonna just pop him in. Maybe he has some different insight. That's all right with you guys.
Cool. 70s ain't that bad. Jerry, Latasha, how we find distress virtually? Right now I'm doing a lot of handwritten notes, doing a lot of handwritten letters to all the distressed properties.
You can also look on Google Earth and check out the area. I've done that multiple times before all of this even happened.
Yep. Yeah, browsing for dollars, that's what we call it. Can you exit and come back and set you?
Kenny's talking to Austin.
I mean, I think something.
That was a private chat. Sorry.
I think something in general to know about distressed owners. If you're an agent in here, you want to get into the business. They do have somewhat their back against the wall. They do have to make a decision. Me getting into the business, that was a lot different to deal with someone with their back against the wall, opposed to someone who is just kind of out here freely looking to possibly sell or buy.
Anyone in the audience wants to chime in, I can turn on the talk feature too.
I'm sure Brian has something to say.
Brian, I'm gonna bring Brian in. Hold up. There you go, Brian. You're in.
Yo. So cool. I know all you guys. It's like watching it's like you guys are celebrity, man. This is awesome.
You're a celebrity, man.
What's your haircut, bro?
You guys looking good. Crystal, you looking fly. Kenny, you got a haircut. Sean, you got a haircut. Making rules.
What's happening, guys?
Hello.
Oh, what's up, Austin?
So Sean, I think a couple people in the audience wanted to know some of your exit strategies. So if you can't assign the deal, what are your other strategies?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be clear. I mean, when I do assignments, I would do assignments if I'm direct to seller. If I'm working with an agent, I don't like to destroy my relationship with that agent. I'm gonna close on that deal if I know if it's a juicy deal. So I'll close on it if I'm working with an agent. But if I'm direct to seller, I'll assign it. But now, if I can't assign it, I have to go down my layer. I want to make sure there's multiple exit strategies. If I can't assign it, my next option is to wholesale it. If I can't wholesale it, then I'll just do like a 3 to 4 month rehab. And if I can't rehab it, then I'll have to remodel it and just keep it, just hold it. So I need to have like the assign it, wholesale, I assign, wholesale, rehab, and then if I could hold it, then I'll hold it.
What's a hotel?
What's
Hotel?
up?
Yeah, break down wholesales, because I think a lot of people probably have questions on that. It's not common, but it's going to be common as we start moving towards,
Hell.
like Kenny was talking about, people with no cash on hand but still want to go out and try and flip houses.
Yeah. Wholesale, basically, you buy a house and paint, carpet, put it back on the market with some nice staging, and that's it. So it literally takes like less than 2 or 3 weeks to put it back on the market. So it's kind of just like putting lipstick on a pig, basically. It works in this market pretty well.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in LA closing on deals right now and not doing any work. They're just closing on them, putting them right back on the market. But that's just because we have so many. I mean, most of our deals that we buy, we bought 127 deals last year in LA, Orange County. Almost 90% of that, sorry, I gotta turn this thing off. Almost 90% of that we ended up purchasing through agents. So agents bringing us deals off market. What's happening with this?
How are you creating those relationships for the deals to go to you versus other investors?
So we have 5 acquisition associates is what we call them in our company. We're a fairly large operation. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear all that dinging. Kenny, did you figure out how to mute messages?
No. Do you have a separate camera? You're looking one way, other way.
Yeah. I'm not really set up super well at home at the moment. I got my big screen in front of me that all you guys are on. I'll actually transfer it over. But yeah, to break down our relationships, it's really just a numbers game. It's very similar to what Sean's doing as far as cold calling. We have tried everything to get direct to consumer.
What if you guys only confidential stuff or block out something? Can you screen share some of the stuff that you look at on a daily basis? Anything that's not confidential or hide something?
Say that again?
Can you guys share your screen if you have anything cool to share? Maybe you can block out the addresses. I'm just curious, like what spreadsheets or what are you guys looking at?
Oh, as far as like the data for agents?
Anything.
I mean, for us, we get most of our deals from agents. So we have 5 people calling agents every single day. And then they're doing that through Follow-Up Boss. Through Mojo. When they actually connect with agents, have a good conversation with them, they drop them into Follow-Up Boss. Once they're in Follow-Up Boss, it becomes just nurturing a relationship the exact same way that we as agents are nurturing clients, right? So it generally, the people that are actually doing business and getting enough deals to where we are interested in working with them, because we buy close to 20 deals a month is the goal. So we just, every single quarter, we pull all of the new agents that are hitting the production marks that we're finding the agents that have the off-market deals for us. Once we do one deal with them, they either don't like the process as far as like, because it's very systematic with us, or they love the fact that everything's systematic. And if you can bring us 5 deals, we'll buy 5. If you bring us 1, we'll buy 1.
Your quick question, Austin, your acquisition specialist, are they direct to seller or are they direct to agents? Because
they're direct to agents. So our unicorn that we cannot figure out is direct to consumer. And I mean, I tried on a very small scale, or our company tried to do what you're doing, Sean, with VAs, and those VAs were, they were in Mexico. They were awesome, absolutely awesome. But I think we just didn't ramp up to the point where we had, it was, they're finding people that were interested, but the gap that we didn't fill was the one that you filled with, I think you called them lead managers.
Yeah, so yeah, someone asked about the sales process. We're actually changing that because before it was from a cold caller to a lead manager to an acquisition manager, and the acquisition get it to a contract. But now we're kind of go from a cold caller straight from an acquisition rep, and then any of the follow, any of the random, not too good leads, then we put those on the lead managers, which we get a lot of. We get a lot of like shitty leads, but we still keep them on our pipeline because if there's any sort of interest, they're going to be interested down the road. And we also do a lot of referrals to agents, so we'll pass on some listings to agents.
You guys find yourself spending like a certain percentage of your income towards marketing, Sean? I know you spend a lot, but Jerry, like, and Crystal, are you guys thinking about like what percentage of your income do you put back into the marketing? Ideally.
I gotta work on that, Brian. I mean, when I get a new credit card, I'm raking that.
Yeah, buddy. Interest free, huh? Rack it up.
Rack it up. Yeah, I need to do that though. Ideally, I know for a healthy company, you got to be at least at 15 to 20% in marketing. This past 2 years, since I'm on growth mode, we're probably spending 30 to 45%. And we do a lot. Yeah, we spend a lot of marketing right now, but it's a lot of testing, so this year we're kind of trying to lean out, which is kind of perfect with the whole coronavirus going on. It's teaching me how to become more lean in terms of cutting unnecessary expenses or whatnot. So that's a good question, Brian.
This question is for you, Jerry. I know you deal with a lot of distressed properties and everything like that, but you also do the retail side. And Crystal, you can join in as well because you do both.
It's hard for me to say because all my marketing is just kind of all together. If I were to say just for distressed properties, maybe like 5% goes back into it for me.
Yeah, I'm about 7%. I need to go a lot higher.
So, but you guys both also deal with like buyers and sellers, and then you guys like regular people, people that buy the nice stuff, the stuff that don't smell, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys prefer? Do you guys is there one that you guys prefer? Like, do you like working with these kind of fixers, or do you like helping and selling the nice stuff? You know what I mean? Like from regular sellers.
I think the regular sellers are a lot easier. You're climbing a huge mountain when you're dealing with a distressed seller. But obviously it comes down to, the margin and how much we're helping those people. But I think the easier route is just a more traditional route for sure.
The more it smells, the better.
Usually, yeah. When you can't walk in there, that's usually the good ones,
Kenny knows I like nasty homes.
That sounds like a good Instagram handle.
A lot of people are hoarders. I don't know how you find those probate hoarders. You remember that property on Uptown 1 that was all hoarded out, and they poured like cement into the drains. It was
remember that.
It was a mess over there.
Yeah. Well, I like both. I like the beautiful properties for my my buyers that are just normal buyers. And I mean, regular sellers are also, they're a little bit easier, but I mean, it depends on if they're emotionally attached to the property. Same with distressed sellers. If they're emotionally attached, it's always a tougher sale.
If on certain deals that are like distressed that you guys find, do you ever cross sell it back to like the traditional market? If you see something that could be good for your first time buyer or I don't know, second time buyer, you
if it's not like absolutely disgusting, yes, I always think of legit buyers that could, put some paint and remodel the kitchen or the bathroom over time.
Longfellow, the shittiest property ever.
Yeah, one of the nastiest houses. One of my family friends, we helped them buy it. He's been living there for a few years now, and they slowly renovated it over that first several months.
Here's something like back to originally what we asked. More so like we as real estate agents, we get listing appointments. Because I've heard stories of some agents. I've won some listings before where the seller was really turned off that the last agent, rather than represent them, tried to just buy it and offer a crazy price. Like, where do you find the balance on regular leads? So not just straight door knocking or skip tracing, all this. If you had the conversation with someone, how do you decide which direction to go, or do you provide them options?
Can you ask it one more time?
So you meet a seller, right? Just someone wants to sell. like, do you offer to help them sell the property, or do you always offer to buy the property, or do you give them, like, how do you give the options?
As a realtor, ethically, I always encourage them to sell it. I'm not quick to try to buy the property unless they bring it up.
I try to help them understand if they're distressed and they have a date coming up. We try to lay out options and, the pros and cons of each. If we have an auction date in 3 weeks, probably isn't best to go to market because we run the risk of losing the property foreclosure. So it's all about what they actually want.
Mm-hmm.
But as an agent, I do have to disclose how much it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, same thing for me as a direct to seller. I mean, I tell them, hey, Mr. Seller, it sounds like a great property. I mean, why don't you just list it with an agent? You guys see Kenny Fast. You can sell your house as well, right? I mean, why won't you guys just list it? And if they say, yeah, I want to go that route, then I just pass it on to an agent. If not, they're like, hey, they're going to tell you an underlying why they don't want to go through an agent, whether they had a bad experience in the past. They don't want people walking in and out their house, right? Like you guys said, these are some of them are hoarders. They don't want, they want a private sale. So that's kind of like, how I scrub them out. I'm like, hey, if you work with me, I'll make it really easy, convenient. You don't have to pick up a broom type of thing. So that's kind of like the service I offer.
Katie asks, what about buyers who want to buy homes in foreclosure? I think, Katie, I have a lot of people, especially when I have a listing, they start to call us because they see it on Redfin and Zillow because it's showing a pre-foreclosure. I think the conversation you need to have with them is that it's not actually for sale. That person just simply hasn't paid their mortgage and they're looking to work something out. And I think that's, as agents, if someone randomly calls you and says, hey, I want to buy this property, it's foreclosing, we have to have that conversation, what actually pre-foreclosure is, what the next step is, auction, and to kind of have that conversation that's not actually for sale.
Yeah, we have a ton of, Zillow leads coming in asking those questions. When a property is on Zillow that's marked as pre-foreclosure, they could have been in default like 5, 6, 10 years ago. Zillow just doesn't get the updated information. So it's really important to note that for them, this property, the value is one of so much that they wouldn't just sell a discount for someone. And that it's like a lot of new agents, like I'm lucky enough that I started business 10 years ago, so I got to learn foreclosures and short sales. But a lot of agents, if you've just started business in the last 5 years, I don't know exactly where you would learn like a lot of that stuff. Like I'm guessing maybe Crystal or Jerry, you guys can talk about does someone get an NOD and a rescission and a notice of sale?
Well, back to the Zillow thing, because I was advertising as a foreclosure specialist on Zillow for years. And like Kenny said, most of those are not in foreclosure anymore. RPR, it's free for realtors. I mean, you can kind of check mortgage history and get an idea if it's actually in default or not. It's not 100%, but that's usually what I was using when I was just on the fly. Somebody's calling me about a property that's not on the market. RPR can kind of give you an idea if it's really in foreclosure or not. Property Radar too, obviously, if you have Property Radar. But RPR is free for realtors. What else were you saying, Kenny?
Maybe you guys can explain to some of the audience, like, at what point does someone get a notice of default, a notice of sale, a notice of rescission?
90 day, first 90 days is you notice a default. The month you don't pay, that's when you receive it, is 90 days. And it's another 21 days is, the auction phase. But I tell them that's how it's structured, but it's per lender. So a lot of people get comfortable thinking it's going to be 90 days when you can actually work something out with the bank. The last 21 days it's more difficult, but sometimes that 21 days can stretch to 40, stretch to 3 months, and they get really comfortable thinking that the bank isn't going to foreclose. But typically it's about 21 days to work something out with the bank, whether it's a deed in lieu or a loan modification or short sale.
And then they do pay their mortgage. You'll see a notice of rescission, and sometimes the Zillow pre-foreclosures does show you that notice of rescission, which means they're good now. But Zillow still marks it as a pre-foreclosure. For a while, Zillow was using those pre-foreclosures to sell leads to agents like me and Crystal. I remember Crystal was on it and I was on it. At one point, like they stopped selling those because they were getting so many complaints. And I think just me and Crystal in Oakland that even had access to that, and eventually just dropped out.
Yeah.
Like people are looking for like crazy deals. Those aren't real leads a lot of times.
Rest of you explain how to go about
Approaching the hour mark. I think we should like do a last round like Q&A or anything more you guys want to share. Go for it.
Oh, I mean, I have something to share. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I'm giving out like a free script, a cold call script of what we're using for during these times. So I have it's like the pandemic edition script that our cold callers are usually using. So it's free download. You guys could go ahead and download that. It's free. Just a plug for everyone.
Most of the REOs I've acquired were on the market. Just I saw that one question.
Our Instagrams are actually our handles. I might ask if I can leave with something. I guess.
I got you, Jerry.
Yeah,
get out there and knock on them doors.
Okay, knocking on doors.
Yeah, you gotta knock them doors back.
So, like a lot of people, if you're a new agent in this chat, I know they teach phone calls. For me, knocking on a door, it kind of eliminates that first. Knocking on the door is my first meeting. So you can call to make a meeting opposed to going to the door and now you have your first meeting. So it's not easy. It takes some getting used to, but I think it's a really good way to get in front of people. You kind of put the pressure on yourself when in front of them to go form or fail. But it's definitely a good way as a new agent to go ahead and have your first meeting without cold calling.
And for like, I know Ivan's gotten a lot of business through door knocking. You're knocking to get deals, to buy investors. But if you knock on someone, they want to do a regular sale. That's a listing, right? And you can do off-market purchase or whatever. But there's opportunities there for door knocking.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
I think a thing to touch on is like kind of going on what Jerry's saying as far as for new agents, especially people. I saw a few people in there initially talking about having investors sucking up time. And I don't know who was speaking on kind of qualifying them, asking about past projects. I fell into that initially years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago when I got my first investor client. And it's the same thing as many clients when you're brand new. You don't have that many people, so you're really attached to the outcome. You've got to understand when you're working with an investor that's actually an investor, knows what they're doing, they're going to appreciate the fact that you're asking the right questions, you're pre-qualifying them. They know that you're not wasting your time, you're serious and actually going to go get them deals. I find that often agents will touch base with someone at our company and they don't ask any of the right questions. They're pretty much just like, oh, we can find you properties. We don't spend any time with those people.
What are some questions that should be asked to a seasoned investor?
I don't know who said it earlier, but I think the best thing is asking for, awesome. So have you flipped properties in the area before or wherever you're looking, Southern California, it doesn't matter where it's at. Even if they just moved into the area. Can you tell me what are the address, even when you're on the phone with them, the best thing I always do is great. Because we have investors, like we do the same thing that Sean does. We'll wholesale contracts every once in a while. And whenever we have a new investor reach out, it's, can you say, what's an address of the last property that you did? And if they're like, oh, well, we did this one a little while back. Great. Do you have anything active on the market that I can look at, whether it's on the MLS, Zillow, for sale by owner? Just asking the questions, seeing if you can actually look at it while they're live on the phone. And then you just get to go through the process of, someone asked Sean earlier, what's your guys' ARV guideline? We're pretty standard, like we'll buy at 72% of ARV or below. And that's kind of our normal range of where we start spending time analyzing a deal. And many investors have that, at least like a small buy box, which has shifted pretty significantly.
I can also show, I can quickly show how to find like a legitimate buyer right now. If I can share my screen, you guys can give me an address and I'll show you guys how to find like a buyer in that particular area. Can I share?
Find flips in the area.
Who has a, like an address that we can kind of just look over right now?
Do you want me to Oh, you guys are up in big.
I mean, at least in this area. So this is literally how, where do you, let me see. Do you have a current listing right now, Kenny? Like a single family home, cookie cutter, single family home that, you know, maybe needs some work or.
Yeah, well, I have a listing taking offers tonight. So that listing I have, we actually got 9 offers tonight, all virtual showings.
What's the address?
36330 Bridgepoint Drive.
36330.
Yeah, Bridgepoint with an E.
Bridge.
Newark.
Oh, awesome. I think we cold called this person. So I would literally, MLS, I would go back at least you want to go back to a year, 12 to 16 months, right? Ideally. So let's just say July of 2018 plus. And what you're looking for, ideally, right? At least for this particular property on Bridgepoint or here in Newark, you guys see that magic twos? The magic twos are usually meaning an investor bought it, right? So, or some of them is going to be like homeowner occupied, but go back as far as possible and then go to the particular lead and find magic twos. If like for an example, this is, let me see if we can find a good one right here.
Why is it labeled as such?
Because we're going back for like 2 years. Let me see.
Magic twos meaning you purchased that and resold it within that timeline.
Yeah.
This person wholesaled it, right? This person bought it for $615. So here's your buyer. Your buyer is Francisco. If he's a flipper, right? He could be a cash investor. Here's another 2.
Is that a special setting you turn on to display the owner name right in the search result map?
No, because I went since 2018, and you want to put all active all the way down to expired, right? So it's going to show up ideally, if you can also just do pending, sold, and active.
Yeah. Are you talking about the tax information on the MLS?
Yeah. Why? I don't. This is the South Bay MLS, which I don't use.
Yeah, MLS listings.
Is that the default setting for the names to be appeared?
Yeah. See, look, here's another one. Oh yeah, this is
here's the same way.
So here's a cash buyer, right? Subash Grover is a cash buyer. He bought it for $790, flipped it for $899. And let's see if he even did anything to it. He kept it as is. He just wholetailed it. So I would just go back at least 16 to 18 months. I'm sure you can do it with any MLS. I've done it with different MLSs, but just go back as far as you can. Find your subject property. Now you know for a fact, hey, Mr. Seller, we're making offers in that area for, let me see, where's the good one that's fixer? Right here. Hey, we're making offers on that property for, you could wholesale it right away for $615, right? Can we agree on that? We can assign this contract for $615 because they're our buyer. So if you get it in contract for $600, you can call Francisco. Hey, I have the same deal in the same area. Would you want to buy my deal? So if you have it for $550, that's a quick $65K spread on you, right? So this is kind of how we find buyers quickly. Just by basing it off the magic twos.
That is exactly what we do down here as well. Going back to what Kenny was asking earlier, where when you go in and you're talking, even if it's a listing appointment, and you're explaining to the person they can sell on the market for X amount, or they can sell it to you, or they can sell it to an iBuyer, whatever it is, the easier the transaction gets, the less they're going to make. And this, exactly what Sean did, I did in front of a homeowner that was kind of pressed for time. The family it was a probate deal. The family just got a trust sale. And the family just got their first mortgage bill, and they're like, ooh, we cannot pay that for another 2 or 3 months. So what do you think about selling the house? I'm like, well, it's kind of full of stuff. You guys don't really want me in here taking pictures. So why don't we just find a buyer? And on the spot, did what Sean was doing, called 2 people. They came by the house later that day and we sold it.
Yeah.
So having the conversation, it's usually speed. The people have to sell because they need the money now. That's kind of the only reason people sell at such a discount. Every once in a while, we'll get people that have owned their house for 100 years or whatever it has been at this point, and they have so much equity. They're like, I just want to be done with it. If you can give me X amount, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Out-of-state owners are like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get too many of those. That's
Yeah.
again, that's our unicorn. We're not too much direct to consumer at this point.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, are you
Have any other questions?
comments before we wrap up?
Let me see.
All right, so this is recorded. I'll have it back on YouTube within the hour. And I know some of you guys have found this video through my Instagram bio. I'll upgrade that link on Linktree in my bio to this. And also, if you guys are interested in doing any more events, like we've been putting a lot of great panels together. You guys have a topic you want to talk to and our good speaker. Like I see in the audience, we have Joe Ferranzo, the #1 agent in 2 counties. What's up, Joe? He's speaking on a panel like this next Wednesday at 12. But you guys have anything to share, we'd love to put this together. I'll be working with Aaron Steele West Group because this stuff takes a lot of time and I actually have work to do sometimes. So I'm gonna have him kind of assist me in hosting some of this stuff, but it's been really great. We have 7 more panels, webinars in the next week. I'd love for you guys to join us on that. Any last words from Christo, Jerry, Sean?
Thanks, Kenny. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks
Thanks for
again,
putting that
Kenny.
together, Kenny.
First one, you got it. All right, guys. Peace.
All right. See you later.